Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen. We're here with comic Adam Muller. Adam Muller, how the hell are you?
Fantastic.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for coming on in the cold weather. And where can people find you do stand-up comedy on stage in New York City, and where can they find you online?
Where can they find me? Well, New York City, I'm all over the place. I'm at Gotham a lot.
Yeah, the last comic saw you, and they're like, I saw you last night. You're a funny guy.
Yes, I mean, last night at Connolly's in Midtown.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which was kind of a Gotham-connected show.
Okay.
I'm at Greenwich Comedy Club a lot, at the Stand a lot. If you're in the scene and you do a lot of open mics and bounce around shows, it's hard to avoid me.
Because you're also doing or hosting open mics?
Yeah, I host some of the Laughing Buddha open mics,
oh, cool.
which is fun.
And a lot of the comics are cutting their teeth at the Laughing Buddha.
Yeah, I think it's one of the. Look, I think Laughing Buddha has a very good search engine optimization, so people find them. And it's also a mic that you can sign up for online. And you know you have a spot, so you don't have to worry about getting there super early. And
yeah.
It's a bucket, so that's randomized. So I think that draws a lot of people.
Yeah, you worry a little bit that the person running the mic is going to be the gatekeeper who's putting all his friends on the best spots.
Yeah, I mean, that can happen.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's not always bad.
Okay.
That's like... There's an element of like work hard, earn your stripes, become one of those people that can walk in and go early. Like you should aspire to that.
Yeah.
But all that said, it is nice to be able to know that a mic is going to be a fair bucket and that you can just sign up and know you have a spot.
Good.
And it's good.
And so that's you hosting Laughing Buddha, but you're everywhere, and they'll find your upcoming show dates at AdamMuller.com or Adam Muller across all platforms, although it's spelled Muller.
Yes,
okay.
Adam Muller, although that's not the wrong pronunciation. Yeah, AdamMullerComedy.com.
Oh, cool.
You can find all kinds of stuff.
Okay. And then one thing we're talking about today is the fact that you started comedy a little bit later. And you had a background in finance, and I just want to know kind of why did you start, and what have you found to be the, what's the thing that we have to know about comics who are starting later? Is it possible? I mean, it sounds like you are showing us that it is.
I think the jury's still out. I think I've exceeded my expectations for when I started of where I'd be.
Okay.
But
how many years in are you?
I'm like 3 years, almost 3 years in, like full time.
Okay.
So it's a little different. My path is a little different, only in that I'm not. Those 3 years I haven't had to maintain a 40-hour or whatever week job.
You have a nest egg from finance.
Yes, I'm slowly burning through all my savings, and eventually I will need a real person job again.
Okay.
But there was sort of a budget was put in place when I started. I said I'm going to burn through this, and until I do, I'm only focusing on comedy.
That's amazing. And so what's your hustle like? I mean, it sounds like you're doing a lot of shows everywhere, but what did it look like in the beginning? Were you going to a lot of mics and just forming that first 5 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, so I started like a lot of people. I started with a class.
Okay.
And then kept, even as I kind of finished the class and started doing a lot of open mics, I kept taking classes.
Oh, cool.
So if you're out there and you were curious about comedy classes in New York, I've probably taken most of them.
Yeah, I think I took one, and the guy was such a genius writer that it was a little disheartening. I was like, I'm better at other things, and he is perfect at this. There's a guy named Frank something or other. I mean, who's the big guy in your comedy class? Who's the teacher?
Who's the teacher? Well,
was it Jessica Curson or?
No, I think as I started, I think she may have already kind of stopped teaching. But Joe DeVito teaches a writing class through Laughing Buddha, which is fantastic. Which is one of the ways I ended up getting hooked up with Laughing Buddha.
Oh, good.
And now, as you mentioned, I host some of the mics.
That's how you make a connection with Adam Mike, is take their class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
And Manhattan Comedy School, which is Gotham. Which is where the done through Gotham is a great classes, and I kept taking the beginner classes because to me it was just like a great open mic.
Oh, cool.
With a bunch of people that are very enthusiastic and new and honest in their reactions, and then you get a fun show at the end. Yeah. So I did that a lot.
And that probably hurt the budget a little bit. Like you would have more road to go. You'd have more rope on your string or whatever. You'd have more budget if you didn't go into the classes, but then you'd have less connections. And less chops.
Yeah, and everyone that I've taken classes with has become like a great. Every class, like you keep all the emails, and you have this mailing list of people you've taken classes with, and even if they don't keep doing comedy, they're clearly interested in it.
They're going to come see
your
shows.
And they'll come see some shows.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's an interesting.
That's a nice investment. As a guy with background in finance, I think you look at that as an investment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All of this was an investment in myself, and even if a year from now I'm no longer doing comedy, which I don't think would happen, but I'm a better, more interesting person
Good.
as a result, and also just have a better understanding of myself because you start digging through everything you've ever done, looking for jokes.
And so what's a good source of jokes for you? Like what in your past? I mean, are you talking about your finance job, or what in your life do you find that as a rich source of material?
Oh, it's a great question because that's the struggle. Because you're looking for how you're trying to be different and unique, and some people have very obvious things about them that are fascinating to other people. And
you don't know what's fascinating about you until somebody's like, dude, are you telling that on stage?
Right.
Because you should be.
Right, because, talking about finance, talking about working in a bank was really hard at first because it seemed so unlikable.
But also the NDA. You sign an agreement that don't disparage.
No, I do have a joke about that. Yeah, yeah. There are things that I probably shouldn't talk about. But it's just not bankers are not a likable group of people.
Yeah, as a whole, right?
So it was a tricky thing to figure out how to talk about it. And even now, I still struggle with it. I still don't have as much material about that job as I probably should.
Were you hardcore finance, or can you say I was only in tech, or I was only in PR?
Oh no, I was in it.
You were the investment banker making the flip books or the pitch books.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Well, look at you. You know the lingo.
I was in securities law back in the day, but it wasn't Wall Street. It's more like arbitration and things like that.
Well, it's interesting because we used to think the lawyers we worked with on M&A deals and IPOs and stuff, those were the only jobs that seemed worse than ours.
Yeah. I think I read Monkey Business was a book about the investment banking, and I thought I heard something like that.
Required reading if you're interested in investment banking. Monkey Business.
Yeah, you better be good with the people in the copy shop because you're going to know them intimately and putting together these big binders. But yeah, so I guess so far I haven't found much that's funny in there unless you're able to kind of respond to the public's demonization of that class of workers.
Yeah, no, it has to be self-deprecating.
Yeah,
it has to be, and I worked at a bank for a long time. Then I worked at a hedge fund. Then I worked for an investment management company.
I also like that too. You're like, oh, okay, well, I mean, you guys demonized us enough, so I went to work for a hedge fund.
Yeah.
Even that's pretty funny.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be evil anyway, I may as well go all the way.
Yeah. I might as well have catered lunches instead of just expense accounts. But you're finding that other things in your past, even how did you get into you have to be pretty credentialed even to get that job. And so, did you go to good schools and are able to talk about people at those schools being dense or whatever?
Well, that's interesting. I have a rich academic history.
Okay.
Which is interesting. Which I try to talk about, and it's a bit of a.
Yeah, that's hard too.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of fun because it makes. It doesn't scream comic.
Yeah, right.
Like being oh, I have a master's degree. I have 2 master's degrees. I worked on Wall Street. My parents love me. How on earth am I a stand-up comic?
That's a perfect joke.
But that's a new joke. That's part of a new joke written this week, in fact.
Okay.
But,
it took you that long to come up with just that perfect bit.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, because you were so hesitant to go back to it, right?
Well, it was interesting because when I was at an investment management company, it was kind of the end of my finance career, and the reason it ended was. They shut down the business unit. So 60 people, effectively got laid off. And at the time it was devastating, but now it's oh, thank God, because that's a great way to get into the material because I can talk about how I got fired.
Yeah.
And that's a very relatable thing.
You just ignored the stack of money you were surfing out on.
Well, until people find out that, and then you're using all that money, including the severance, so that you don't have to work and can just write jokes and then tell them at night. But
and they're just jealous.
But eventually it'll run out.
Yeah, they're all peanut butter and jealous.
Yeah,
man.
then I'll be the oldest barista in New York.
And then what's the reaction to, was there any trepidation about being the oldest dude at an open mic? And you might not be. You might just be a little bit older than the 20-year-olds who are going on.
No, well, it's interesting because look, there are absolutely people at open mics that are older than me.
Yeah.
And some of them are fantastically
hilarious,
funny.
Right?
And but often there will be mics where it doesn't look like there's anyone over the age of 30, and then there's a bit of a gap, and then me. And it's I find it fascinating because one, it's a way for me to keep I'm in touch with what the quote unquote youth of today are thinking about and doing in a way that I wasn't before,
while still remaining in touch with the older.
Yeah, because you just
middle age, right?
Yeah, the premises are fascinating. Yeah. Someone who's 22, whether the joke is funny or not. That's a separate thing.
It's funny to you that his premise is my life is over at 22 or something.
Yeah, and I love when someone who's 28 starts with I'm getting older. And I'm just shut up. But you know what? There's
hangovers are worse. They take longer to recover from.
But when I do my I'm getting older joke, there's probably some 60-year-old in the back who's shut up. Which is funny, right? Because every age, every kind of decade you hit, you feel older than you were because you are, and so those jokes are kind of relatable to everybody.
Yeah, and so have you been, and I guess age brings wisdom or at least discipline, and it sounds like you might have been more disciplined in attacking the career because you knew that you only had so long to make it on that nest egg, and you were going full bore, and you wanted to make sure by the time you ran out of money, you had a source of more income that was comedy related.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, I took the class, right? So it's standard class, once a week for 6 weeks, you have a show at the end. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
I think I did okay, but I'm self-aware enough and realistic enough to know, like, but it's still pretty bad, like, relative to the entire universe of comedians.
Yeah.
But for me, and I thought, I wonder, it was fun. I think I could be good. I'm going to give myself, I think the first time I said, I'm going to give myself 3 months and run as hard as I can, then reassess.
3 months.
3 months. So I'd done the 6 weeks class, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, 3 months was 15 to 20 mics a week for 3 months, writing every morning. And at the end of the 3 months, it was like, okay, there's been real progress. I'm going to give it another 3 months. That went by. I felt good again. I said, okay, now I'm going to give it 6 months. That'll make it a year, and then I'll decide, do I keep going? And every time I'd hit one of those points, I'd be like, I got to keep going.
And did you do you think that your analysis that, when at the end of that period when you had to say, am I going to keep doing this, did you try to schedule that for after a good performance or after? Because, I mean, if you had done it after a bomb, you'd be like, fuck this.
No, that's a fair point. No, I didn't really key it off of any, like a show or anything. It was just more trying to think back holistically over the period of time and think back to, or even watch a tape or listen to the audio of an open mic from 6 months before and be like, that's embarrassing now.
I'm getting
and
so
as long as
better.
as long as I'm embarrassed by what I did 3 months ago, I'm improving and I got to keep going.
Oh, I love that. And then kind of what was your, the difference between writing and performing? Like, are you writing on stage at all, or is everything still in the morning before you go up on all your mics?
Most of my writing, very little of my writing is on stage. Every once in a while I might find a line or a riff or something, but I'm pretty methodical, word for word, syllable by syllable.
Just like you were in finance, man.
Yeah, no, it's very similar. I mean, and I'm
your pitch books were excellent. I remember the reviews.
I'm counting words. For the longest time, I would transcribe shows, and then I would look at, okay, I did 4 minutes and 57 seconds. It was this many words, which means I said 1.73 words a second. And it was a good set, which means I was still pausing for laughs.
Right.
And over time, I was like, okay, so if I'm going to do 10 minutes, I'm going to say about 1.7 words a second. So this is the number of words I can have, and I would craft the set.
And you stopped doing that at some point?
Well, I kind of honed into the zone of how quickly I speak.
Okay.
And so I can kind of just use that to craft a set where I know, like, this will be the right amount of time.
And are you counting laughs per minute? Because I would think that your methodical process would lend itself
to the
well
second decimal place, yeah.
And how do you, and I guess how do you quantify, like, is it any laugh at all, or is there, do you have a scale between belly laughs versus clapter?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I would also rate each laugh, and I had a scale of 0 to 5, and
I love it.
3 was like the laugh I want.
Okay.
Right, 3 was like, that's a good joke, it stays.
Right.
5 was like applause break.
Okay.
Like full room applause break, not like one drunk dude in the back. And zero was like there was no sound. Like no one even knew it was supposed to be a punchline.
That made its way into your rating system.
Yeah.
Okay. But I also love it too. You could be in the moment, like that was only a 3 laugh, guys. For that to stay in the act, you got to be at a 4. It's like Brody Stevens, where he would just kind of like break down the fourth wall.
And I never gave myself a 5.
Okay.
I got a couple 4s. I never gave myself a 5.
You got to get
the elusive 5 is still out there somewhere.
But when you're getting all the 5s and you're no longer able to be embarrassed at yourself 5 months before or 5 years before, that no longer means to stop, does it? Like, I mean, you're good enough now where you're continually improving, even though you're not going to be embarrassed. You're not going to be embarrassed by what you did last night, because there was a comic who walked out and she said, "I saw you last night. You were great."
But yeah, it was interesting the show she saw, because like there was jokes I'd done. I did 3 sets last night, and that was the 3rd that she saw.
Okay.
The first 2 went great,
and
then including a newer joke, from, new over the last couple of weeks, and I did it on the 3rd show as well and got nothing.
Okay. So she's more saying, "Yeah, you're a funny guy." More like, "I'm just saying that to be nice."
Well, I think the comics in the back appreciated the joke.
Oh, cool.
Because it's clever, and I was early in the show, and I'm not sure the room was ready for a joke like that. It may have been a miscalculation on my part, but I got him right back after, so it was all fine. I don't think anyone even remembers that joke happened.
I love that. Your comic, and my question is, like, is there going to be tangible proof that you spent all these years doing it? Like, are you angling towards at some point taping the half hour and putting a special, as it were? And what's a special, and what's Adam Mueller's special going to look like?
That's great.
Yeah, when do you even do a special, and how the hell is it done? When you've been spending years doing it, and you're ready to have tangible proofs that you've been working your ass off.
I mean, that's an aspirational goal would be to look. I try to think of short-term goals because long-term it's like, oh, I want a Netflix special, or maybe first of all, Netflix might not even be the right medium by the time I get. Who knows? I mean, who's to say? But I'd rather. For me, it's more like I want my half hour to be tighter in 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
I'm still kind of on that short-term orientation because
are you
saying like I want, like I don't know what I want.
Okay.
Like it'd be to have a full hour and to be able to do it in front of people that want to be there because you're doing it. That'd be such a thrill.
Yeah. And
but
then
why
would you even burn that at that point? Like some people are like, why would you take the hour that you've just worked years on and then burn it? Because then you can't do it anymore if everybody's seen it on Netflix.
I feel like that first hour is the longest one to put together because it's from when you began to when you get to a point where you can do it. Yeah. And I think for me, I'd probably have, if I did an hour, I'd probably have 2.
Oh.
Or 90 minutes. Or there'd be something in my, like, the next day I wouldn't be like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
I think I'd want to time it in such a way so that I've already got a head start.
Yeah, like even Steven Rogers was talking about opening for Gary Gulman. I was like, oh, did he do the Great Depression stuff? And he goes, this was while he was writing Great Depression, and I can tell you that there's another 30 minutes or 60 minutes of great stuff that didn't make its way on there. Yeah. And I'm like, that's great because you really need the head start. If your material is burnt. And I guess it's not necessarily. Like, you could even make a Netflix special that's not seen by everybody. Like Theo Vaughn had a special on there, and it's like, I don't even remember some of the jokes. They'd be new to me. Well,
I heard someone recently saying that Netflix told them that the vast majority of people watch like 30 minutes of the special, and then they start
trailing off.
And they were saying that they still, the second half of their special, they still do it on the road because most of their fans haven't.
Oh, that's cool.
Seen it. So that's an interesting sort of dynamic of kind of the attention span of people. But
and I'll give somebody one joke. Like even Pete Davidson recently came out with a thing. And I just heard the first Louis C.K. bit, and I thought that was fine. And then he had title card. And then he went into something else that was less than funny, so I turned it off.
Yeah.
I'll give everybody one joke.
I mean, I tend to watch specials in chunks.
Okay.
I don't always. It's hard to sit down for an hour, but I like to. But there's certain people where I want to see it, and I like to watch it first as like a fan. Yeah. And then the second time.
And are you busting out notes on that second time through the Adam Muller way?
I'm thinking.
Are you rating it? Are you LPM, laughs per minute?
Look, when I'm not counting laughs for an hour, but when I see a joke I really like, I tend to write it. I tend to transcribe it because I want to see what it looks like on paper.
Okay.
Because I'm writing. I'm talking stuff out to myself as well as writing it down. But at the end of the day, it all ends up on paper at some point.
Yeah.
And being able to write in a way that translates to how you speak.
Okay. And so you write it with certain pauses in there as to how you would say. Or how the person says it.
Just so that that when I go back to that joke, if it's a Mark Norman joke, for example, I can go back and look at it and I can hear his voice and his cadence say the joke. And I'm just trying to understand, when you see the words on paper, I can think of what were the other 10 words he thought of in that spot before he landed on, whatever joke we're talking about.
And then do you take that and be like, is there anything in my life that's similar, he's writing about this particular topic like dating or first one-night stand. Do I have anything have I had a one-night stand in my life where I can also think of a joke?
Oh, sometimes that triggers the thought process around.
Because it's not stealing. It's just like, oh shit, he had a boss that was fucked up. Have I ever had a boss that's
absolutely.
fucked up? Yeah.
I mean, there's often times where you're watching something and you have to turn it off. You turn it off after the setup because you don't want to hear the punchline until you thought about it. But yeah, I mean, even just sitting through open mics, every premise is triggering people's brains about, did I ever have a situation remotely like that? And maybe it went off in a different direction. And absolutely. But I just think seeing how the jokes look on paper helps me write to the way people talk, if that makes sense.
And so you're figuring out how Mark Norman talks by how he's kind of pausing and things like that.
Yeah.
And that helps you because you talk your own way. How does that help you in figuring out how Mark Norman told that joke?
Well, I think I want to be able to see I think it's
like why? What you're almost saying? Why was that funny? Oh, because he paused here. Because Mark Norman tends to pause here.
Well, what's really interesting. Here's another. I'm getting at your question, but kind of through the back door. But there's some late night sets where I watch it. Someone does a Colbert set, and I'm dying laughing. I love it, and I've seen and then I transcribe it, and then I go back and I read the transcript, and I'm like, it's not funny.
Why did it become so funny in the performance?
Yeah, why did it? And so for me, because I think my writing got better. I think I've always been a decent writer, a good writer. Okay. I'm going to say, and translating that to jokes was a lot more seamless. It's still difficult,
Okay.
but way easier for me than the performance piece, which is still playing catch up because
okay.
I had no theatrical training. I'd never been on stage, period, for anything in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I'd done public speaking to the extent that I'd flipped through financial model pitch books with CEOs, but that's not the same as.
Right. And so you almost had to make your delivery a little bit more with theatrics in mind, so that you would kind of go in that direction with high energy and stuff.
Like the ability of a persona to amplify a joke and to connect with an audience. I'd never thought about those sorts of things. So seeing someone who's more persona driven, where when I see the words of the joke, I'm like, if I had just read this, I wouldn't have laughed. But then I saw them perform it, and I was doubled over laughing.
And so you try to take tips like, okay, what did he do to elevate this material from B to A+?
Right.
Can I do the same thing by being more energetic or using voices or act outs or something?
Or what is it about my personality that I should amplify so that this joke connects to who I am?
Because by nature, you're a finance guy who counts laughs per minute.
Yeah. To the second decimal place. That's my thing.
Yeah, and when they come see you on stage, and you're going to be everywhere, it sounds like, but what can they expect from the Adam Muller persona these days? How far have you gotten beyond Adam Muller, the finance guy?
Well, I think the jokes are tight, fun jokes. I'm clean generally.
Okay.
Like, doesn't mean every topic is spick and span clean, but like I don't feel the need to swear.
Okay.
There's nothing's kind of gross.
Okay.
I'm not trying to use shock value. I'm trying to write, if there's sometimes the first draft of a joke, there's sort of a shocking conclusion, and that's a placeholder until I can think of a way to say it in a way that is a little more palatable.
Okay, because you're trying to be palatable. You're trying to you have your mind on commerce because you're from finance. You want to make sure that it's palatable to the masses. You don't want to not be able to work certain rooms because you're blue or something.
Yeah, I mean, I heard someone say that if someone's a clean headliner, they'd rather have a clean opener, and if someone's a dirty headliner, they'd rather have a clean opener.
Okay.
So like that's easy. So be clean. I mean, that's simple. If you want to work. Because to me, it's all starting older, right? It's all about I have to be as efficient as possible.
Yeah, you only have so much time left.
I can't. If being clean, first of all, I think that's a little more who I am. But also, if that's a faster path, then that's what I'll do.
That's what Adam Muller does. And to find out where he's going to do stand-up comedy next on stage, you can find him at Adam Muller, spelled like Muller.
Yes, exactly.
Adam Muller,
exactly.
AdamMuller.com, and Adam Muller across all social platforms.
Yeah, and I'll be at Gotham on Tuesday.
Sweet.
7:00.
Gotham Comedy Club. That's the big time.
Yeah, and I've got a podcast I'm working on right now.
Oh, cool. What's that about?
Hasn't been released yet. Okay. So the one that we haven't mentioned is I'm actually also Canadian.
Oh, okay.
So that's what a unique personality trait.
Yeah, Canadian. I love that. And so you talk about that on stage?
Oh yeah, a big part.
Okay.
Because it's
You still got the accent? Can you put on the accent?
I've been here too long. When I try to put it on, it sounds like someone trying to fake a Canadian accent, which is ironic. But I can't. Yeah, I can't. I could do sorry. I can do a word.
And are you Canadian nice, and that makes its way into your persona?
Yeah, and I joke about that.
Oh, cool.
I think that's part of the clean, nice, friendly, I'll do your taxes kind of thing that I got going on.
And is the podcast going to be related to Canadian comics living in New York City?
In a sense, it's four of us, so 2 Canadians, an Australian, and a British guy.
Oh, cool. So it's like a transplant.
So it's like a Commonwealth. It'll be called Uncommonwealth.
Oh, cool.
And it's us just, from our perspectives, living here now. What do we think?
And I love it because it's uncommon wealth. Like, you guys might not be wealthy anymore, but you have an uncommon wealth, and that's hilarity, right?
And we're not in the Commonwealth anymore. We're all living in New York City, so it's uncommon wealth.
Dude, he's a Canadian. He's Canadian nice, and he's just fucking slaying because he only has a couple months left on his count. Like, by your current countdown of when you have to analyze whether or not to keep going, how many months or years do you have?
What do we? I think actually just in January I was like, I think I'm good for all of 2020 now.
Good. You can see him at least.
I can calm down.
At least through the end of 2020.
At least, yes.
Adam Muller, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.